Life has a funny way of showing you things when you least expect them. For me, Mark, life was simple, predictable. I was married to Sarah, the woman I thought was my soulmate. We had a comfortable home, two beautiful kids, and what I believed was a rock-solid marriage. But for the past few months, something felt off. It was a subtle shift, a quiet distance growing between us. Sarah started working late more often. Her phone became an extension of her hand, always angled away from me. When I'd ask about her day, her answers were vague, peppered with sighs of exhaustion. "Just work, Mark. It's just so draining," she'd say. I wanted to believe her. I really did. I told myself I was being paranoid, that every long-term relationship hits these lulls. So I tried harder. I planned date nights she'd cancel at the last minute. I'd bring home flowers that would sit on the counter, their beauty unnoticed. The emotional gap between us was becoming a canyon, and I was standing on one side, shouting into the void, with only an echo for a reply. The doubt was like a slow poison, seeping into my thoughts. Little inconsistencies started piling up. A receipt from a restaurant I'd never heard of. A new perfume she wore that she claimed a coworker gifted her. The way she'd jump if I walked into the room while she was texting. Each instance was small, easily explained away on its own. But together, they wove a tapestry of suspicion that I couldn't ignore. My friends told me to talk to her, to confront her directly. But how do you accuse the person you love most in the world of the ultimate betrayal without concrete proof? I was terrified. Terrified of being wrong and damaging our trust forever, and even more terrified of being right. The not knowing was the worst part. It was a constant hum of anxiety in the back of my mind, turning our once happy home into a place of silent tension. I felt like I was losing my mind, questioning my own sanity. The turning point came on a Tuesday night. Sarah called around 7 p.m. "Hey, honey," she said, her voice sounding strained. "It's going to be another late one. We're on a major deadline, and my boss is breathing down my neck. Don't wait up for me." I said, "Okay, love you." But the line had already gone dead. The familiar knot of dread tightened in my stomach. I put the kids to bed, their innocent faces a stark contrast to the turmoil in my heart. I tried to watch TV, to read a book, to do anything to distract myself, but the silence of the house was deafening. The clock on the wall seemed to mock me, each tick a countdown to a truth I wasn't sure I was ready for. Around midnight, a strange impulse took over. I couldn't just sit there anymore. I needed to know. I knew her company had a shared parking garage a few blocks from the office. My plan was simple. I'd drive by, see her car, and my fears would be put to rest. I'd see it parked there, and I'd go home, call myself a fool, and apologize to her in the morning for ever doubting her. My hands trembled as I gripped the steering wheel, the city lights blurring through my tear-filled eyes. The drive to her office felt like an eternity. As I turned into the parking garage, my heart was pounding in my chest. I drove up level by level, scanning for her familiar blue sedan. Nothing. The garage was nearly empty. A cold wave of panic washed over me. Her car wasn't here. She wasn't at work. Every excuse I had made for her, every benefit of the doubt I had given, it all crumbled in that moment. Where was she? My mind raced, replaying her words. "We're on a major deadline." It was all a lie. The realization hit me like a physical blow, knocking the wind out of me. I pulled my car over into an empty spot. The engine's hum the only sound in the cavernous, empty space. For a few minutes, I just sat there, numb. The trust I had placed in her, the foundation of our entire life together, had just been bulldozed. Then a new, desperate thought emerged. There was one other place, a trendy new restaurant on the other side of town she'd mentioned a colleague recommended. She'd been dismissive when I suggested we go, saying it was too expensive and overhyped. On a gut feeling I can't explain, I started driving. My GPS guided me through unfamiliar streets until I arrived. And there it was, her blue sedan, parked right out front. My heart sank. I parked across the street, my car a dark, anonymous shell. I watched the restaurant's entrance, my breath catching in my throat with every person who walked out. And then, I saw her. Sarah. She was laughing, a carefree, radiant laugh I hadn't heard in months. It was a beautiful sound that now felt like a dagger in my heart. Because she wasn't alone. Walking beside her, his arm draped casually around her waist, was a man I didn't recognize. He leaned in and whispered something in her ear, and she tilted her head back, smiling up at him with an adoration I hadn't seen directed at me in years. They stopped by her car, and he pulled her into an embrace. It wasn't a friendly hug. It was a deep, lingering kiss, full of a passion and intimacy that was once reserved for me. I felt like I couldn't breathe. It was as if the world had tilted on its axis, and everything I knew was a lie. I watched them, a silent observer to the destruction of my own life. It was a truth hidden in plain sight all along. In the late nights, the secret texts, the growing distance. I had just refused to see it. I didn't get out of the car. I didn't scream or run over there. I just sat, frozen, as I watched him get into his own car and drive away. I watched Sarah get into her car, the one we bought together, and drive off, presumably back to our home, back to our children, back to the life she was so casually betraying. In that moment, the pain was overwhelming, but underneath it, something else began to form. A cold, hard clarity. The agonizing uncertainty was over. I knew the truth. I drove home on autopilot, the streets a meaningless blur. I got into bed and pretended to be asleep when she finally came home, the faint scent of that unfamiliar perfume and another man's cologne clinging to her. The next morning, when the kids were off to school, I looked at her across the kitchen table. The woman I had loved, the mother of my children, was a stranger to me. "We need to talk, Sarah," I said, my voice steady for the first time in months. The journey ahead would be painful, full of lawyers and difficult conversations, but for the first time I felt a sense of control. The truth, as devastating as it was, had set me free. It's a hard lesson to learn that sometimes the people you take a bullet for are the ones behind the trigger. But discovering the truth, even a painful one, is the first step toward healing and building a new life. One founded on honesty. Thank you for watching and listening to my story. If you've ever been through something similar, know that you are not alone, and there is light on the other side of the darkness. Remember to take care of your own well-being. If you found this story meaningful, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more content. Your support means the world.